Joel Klatt, the voice of college football at Fox, is joining us live. You know, it is interesting. The NIL is fascinating. There's so many things, so many tentacles of it. One of the things I like is that it pays kids before they go pro, so they get a sense of kind of responsibility with money. I don't like going from borrowing money for pizza in college to a millionaire. It's so I like that. I think it protects the kids, that gets them ready for the NFL. The other thing is Jaden Maiava for another year in college. I'm like, wow, he's going to be a heck of a prospect. What do you, let's just take this. Let's talk about all these guys, Ty Simpson, Jaden Maiava. If I recall, you like them all staying. You think they all need even Dante Moore another year, right?
Yeah, I do. Like, listen, you make a financial argument, and I think that argument is very sound. You know, they can make, over $3 million to stay in college. And Colin, I don't think that any of these guys are guaranteed to be a top 15 pick, based on the evaluation. You never know how the process is going to go. And if you're in the back end of the first round, or even let's say even the early half of the second round, yes, it's a lot of money, but the organization is not going to be as completely invested in you as you would be in the top end of the first round. And so my argument would be that, like, the contract that you sign, if you weren't a top end first round draft pick, is great. There's no doubt. But in terms of next year, you can probably make a similar amount in college and then increase your draft stock to get up there into the top end of the first round, and experience plays a part of that. I've talked at length on this program countless times about how I think one of the biggest prerequisites to NFL success is college experience and the amount of reps that you need. The guys that win Super Bowls, get to their second contracts, generally have started over 30 times. Well, Dante Moore and Ty Simpson and these guys like Arch Manning, they haven't done that yet. And so not only do they need more time to develop on the field, but now financially it's not as prohibitive, for them to stay and not go to the NFL and not get that contract.
So I think even despite beating Ohio State, and maybe I'm guilty of this, everybody's like, well, Ohio State will win a rematch. Georgia's better. And it's like, if coaching and quarterback matters, Indiana's got easily the best quarterback and arguably the best coach. There are not a lot of guys above Cignetti, what he's doing at Indiana. Not to say they don't have a good roster, but they don't have a Georgia roster yet or an Ohio State roster. Would you be shocked? Are we undervaluing Indiana because it's like, well, that was their Super Bowl? You watch the game. I mean, how do you view them going forward?
Clearly one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the nation. And I'll be very surprised if they're not in the semifinals. And I'll be pretty surprised if they're not playing for a national championship.
Same.
And a lot of that has to do with their quarterback, yes, and their coach, obviously, but it's also their defense. In this day and age in college football, think about what's happened in the last 4 years. Colin, the last 4 national champions, 3 of them have had the number 1 defense in the country. And Georgia's second national championship, they had the 4th ranked defense in the country. So every one of these defenses, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, they've had a top 5 defense. That's what I think makes Indiana so good. You saw it in the last 40 minutes of the Big Ten championship game when they prevented Ohio State from scoring. That is an excellent defense led by one of the best coordinators in the entire country, and Brian Haynes. And when you couple that with a quarterback that plays best when his best is needed late in games, with wide receivers that can win in contested areas like Elijah Surratt, like, you got a team that can win the national championship. So I'll be very surprised if Indiana is not there in the end. I think that Ohio State and Georgia are going to play in the semifinal, and the winner of that game is going to face Indiana in the national championship.
So I've watched Oklahoma beat Alabama the last 2 years. Why am I supposed to believe Alabama with no run game is going to go to Norman and win the 3rd time? I think I like Oklahoma close. I love Alabama's coach and wide receiver talent. They can't run the ball. You can move the ball on them. Where do you stand on that game?
Well, everything that you just said is right. And the location does not favor Alabama, in particular when Oklahoma's got one of the best pass rushes in the entire sport. Oklahoma has 41 sacks. That's tied for the most in college football with Texas A&M. Now they're going to be at home against a team that, let's face it, has not protected their quarterback all that great in big situations. Florida State got after him. Georgia just got after him, speaking of Ty Simpson. So you would assume at least that Oklahoma is going to be able to present a rush on Ty Simpson. Here's the thing that I think finally stalls out the idea that Oklahoma has a big advantage is that Oklahoma offensively has just done nothing in the back half of the year. They are very. Do you remember a few years ago when you had the whole like Iowa is the fake idea of college football?
I do remember that. Yes.
Okay. So, and I defended Iowa. So this is going to sound like a knock. I don't mean it to be a knock. I think that Oklahoma is elite in 2 of 3 areas of their team. And offensively, they struggle. And they struggle mightily driving the football down the field. They struggle trying to score points. So in that sense, they're very similar to Iowa, Colin. Like, this is an Iowa team. They have to build into field position. They've got to win the special teams. Brent Venables has got to have a great defensive game plan. And I think that's what gives people pause in terms of like, well, Oklahoma should win this game. Listen, I'm going to go with environment. I'm going to go with defense. And because of that, I think Oklahoma wins. I do think it's going to be a close game. And I would also say this, uniquely, because you've been a Lincoln Riley supporter and defender, and obviously you loved his move to USC. Well, you know exactly, and I think uniquely, how burned those fans at Oklahoma felt and the vitriol that they gave towards the situation. Well, think about it now. They have been waiting as a fan base for this moment ever since that Sunday morning when Lincoln Riley walked himself to LA. And because of that, I think that the Palace on the Prairie is going to be one of the great environments that we've ever seen. I think that they've been waiting for this. They brought one of their own home in Brent Venables, and they're back on a stage in which they feel like they are born to be at, rightfully at, which is the playoff. This is Oklahoma, one of the great storied programs in the history of our sport. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about the environment that place is going to be. I think Norman is going to be on fire, and because of that, it's going to be tough for Alabama to win.
About a minute and a half left. Michigan, great job, blue blood, top 5 ever. Penn State stumbled into Matt Campbell, which would have been a great hire if they'd have hired him an hour after James Franklin was let go. They kind of lucked into a great coach. Where are we at on Michigan right now?
So I think 2 things real quickly. I think that the internal query or investigation into the athletic department, its practices and its culture are going to hold things up from a coaching search standpoint, because no coach is going to want to be hired by a guy that's not going to be there. So they want to make sure that Ward Manuel and the administration is still there. That being said, I think a lot of it depends on Friday night. I think that if Alabama loses, there's a pathway to Kalen DeBoer going to Michigan. And I think that the other name that I would be looking out for is Jeff Brom, who's at Louisville, which is his alma mater. But Jeff Brom is a winner, and he's done a nice job. And Michigan is Michigan. You know, I know he's at his alma mater, but Michigan is one of the premier jobs in the country.
Oh, it's a great job. It's just an unbelievable job.
And they've got a lot of support. They've got a lot of money behind that, and they've got a really young and talented roster. That's a top 10 team next year. Just remember that. You know, that's a preseason top 10 team if they can retain all that talent.
I walk in with Bryce Underwood. I mean, give me a break.
And Andrew Marsh and Jordan Marshall and 3 redshirt freshmen starting on the offensive line and all those young guys in the secondary. I mean, like, they're going to be very good next year.
All right, Joel. I'm going to pick Miami to upset A&M. Give me 30 seconds. Give me an upset. I'm going to take Miami. Carson Beck upset, close, field goal late.
I can't give you an upset. I can't give you an upset. The home teams last year all won these first round playoff games all by double digits. I don't trust Carson Beck and Mario Cristobal on the road in a huge game in a big environment. I just don't. That game's going to come down to turnovers. Whatever quarterback plays clean. Beck and Miami can't run the football. Cassius Howell, the great pass rusher for A&M, is going to play well. I don't think that there's an upset this weekend. At first, OU was getting 1.5, but now I think it actually swung to OU favored. So because of that, I'm taking OU. I'm taking A&M, Ole Miss, and Oregon this weekend.
All right. Good seeing you, buddy.
You as well, man. Hey, it's great to see you. And if I don't talk to you before next week, Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a great holiday.
Same to you and your beautiful family. Joel Klatt, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, bud.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.